There are some video game companies out there that have built up a reputation in such a way that you don't expect any new ideas out of them. Like at all. Activision is content enough to regurgitate the same Call of Duty formula year after year, where Microsoft is putting stock in the car business with how many Forzas there are. Of course, the biggest target for this is the big N themselves, Nintendo. Many burn Nintendo's witch at the stake with the accusations that Nintendo are bereft of new ideas, without actually putting to mind how different their games feel, even if they are within the same franchise. I mean, have you played some of these Kirby spin-offs? They are absurd compared to the original formula. Of course, I don't really feel this way myself, but I do show up to the witch hunt anyway. I mean, how else am I going to bag myself a witch? Despite all this, it seems Nintendo themselves felt the same way back on the floundering WiiU, as they went to their garden of new talent and picked what they thought were the best. A bunch of lolicons who want to see squid gajinkas shoot their bodily fluids at each other. If that doesn't explain what Splatoon is, then I don't know what will. Oh right, I actually do. Splatoon is a third-person shooter developed by Nintendo themselves with a Nintendo twist, which I'll get to later. I can't spoil the rest of the review here, but the question is this: was it worth it? Was it worth creating more creepy fan art to plague the internet? Yep, definitely. Let's take a look. Despite not being focused on the story, Splatoon was advertised as an online multiplayer-first affair, of course. Splatoon does in fact have a story. You play as your fresh-ass squid kid, labeled Agent 3 so the game can actually refer to you as something, and you decide to help out this crusty old squid named Captain Cuttlefish in his fight against the Octarian menace. That's pretty much it. There are some fun exchanges between your silent squid and the old man, but what's really the big appeal here is the lore. Collecting a hidden scroll in each of the many stages will unlock lore about the world, and it's fascinating to see it all come together. Not much to say here, but it's got potential to be quite fresh. On to the splatting and squirting. Splatoon is an unconventional third-person shooter. Instead of shooting bullets at your foes, you are a squid, and therefore shoot your bodily fluid around all over the place. While that doesn't actually really change much in combat, it's more the fact that you coat the environment as well, like when fun times go wrong, and this lets you swim around the environment quickly while also acting as makeshift cover as well as reloading your supply of ink. It sounds really simple on paper, but it actually comes through in gameplay quite efficiently as you are bogged down when standing in enemies' war juices while taking minor damage, meaning you'll want to be having happy accidents all over the place, allowing you more free movement. Of course, this means you can make cover pretty near anywhere. Some surfaces don't hold ink, however, causing you to be more aware of your surroundings. The fact that your cover, ammo, and lifeline is just ink means your enemies can also wash it away just as easily as you put it down by covering it with their own ink. This makes for a constant battle over territory, and that is the entire crux of the multiplayer mode, Turf Wars. In Turf Wars, your goal is not to murder the enemy dead, though that definitely helps. No, your goal is to murder the ground with your gun love so your team has control of the most space. It's a slight change, but an interesting one, as it causes a more frantic and colorful display not seen in most other shooters. Of course, in single player, this isn't your goal. Instead, your goal is to make it to the Zapfish, an electrical catfish, at the end of each stage, inking the ground to make your traversal either possible or easier while murdering octopi on your way. Making a different use of the same mechanics, single player is extremely well designed, showing just what makes Splatoon different and asking you to utilize ink traversal in fun ways, such as inking up and swimming up the walls. Of course, there are a variety of enemies we fought here, including some really fun and unique bosses, with some ink-spraying machines used as obstacles for good measure. Each level focuses on, or mixes, gimmicks around that involve the ink, and they are all really fun, and would only make sense with ink as a projectile. Here in single player, you can find armor to tank a life with checkpoints restoring a lost life and being reached, and killing enemies offers you what are known as power eggs. In single player, you can use power eggs to upgrade the limited gear you have, but in multiplayer, you earn money and gain experience to unlock new weapons and clothes that also level up once and have skills attached. It's a very contentful game with some fun weapons and many different combinations of being fresh to try. It's safe to say that these lolicons came up with some good gameplay mechanics. While not being technically impressive, Splatoon is a gorgeous game with sharp design. The squids themselves have a fun design with lots of clothing options to be unlocked, and the weapons shoot ink gloriously, leaving a beautiful mess on the ground. The ink glistens and sparkles in the light and really looks quite nice sprayed all along the good-looking environments. Single player is a mixed bag visually, however, as the worlds are all floating islands with the stages themselves being floating Mario Galaxy planetoids with more octopi looking to ink all over our lolly or Shota squids. However, those assets and overall look are still great, and the game would look good on any console, let alone the Wii U, and still look great today. The Wii U was really a console to show how important color is. On the audio side, this game sure does slap. As much as I died of cringe both writing and saying that, the soundtrack for Splatoon is unique and really is great. Music is an important part of this game's identity, well with the Squid Sisters and all that, so it was important to nail it, and they sure did with its poppy techno-sounding garbled squid speak. This new team really knocked it out of the park on the audio and visual front, making for one of the best looking and sounding Wii U games. I actually don't have a lot to complain about here, other than the fact that the single player is kinda weird compared to the full-featured and fully realized multiplayer. It's still loads of fun, making it a moot point, but it feels more like a challenge mode worldwide than it does a proper single player. That being said, the game is a solid showing with good performance and a new way to play the same old boring shooter. So yes, this game is quite fresh. Say what you will about Nintendo and its closely guarded franchises, but it sure does know how to make new ones. You shouldn't put every idea you have into motion, but when a good one comes around, you get something like Splatoon. As disgusting as some might find shooting your bodily fluid at strangers, doing it in the context of an all-out gang turf war is pretty damn fun. Multiplayer is reinvigorated with the change of objective, as simple as it is. The single player is very well designed and the visual style is gorgeous. Ink looks really good in HD. These squid lollies really know how to shoot up the place and they left an ink-soaked 9 out of 10 in their wake. Just don't tell them the horrors that await them on the internet. I am sure they already know.